Hello, I'm Julie from Spellbound, and today I'm going to show you how to make some really fun earrings using wire and simple beads to make some hoops. Hoops are very fashionable at the moment, and you can buy special findings to make perfect round hoop earrings, but I think it's much more fun and much more versatile to make it from a length of wire and some simple findings. To start off with, I'm going to show you how to make a simple round hoop with some beads to decorate the bottom, and then I'm going to show you how to make a hoop with a dangle in the middle. To start off with though, I'm going to introduce you to the materials I'm going to use. I've got some 0.8mm half hard wire. Now half hard means it's got a little bit of spring to it. If I just flick it like that, you can see it wants to return to the original shape, and that means that when we make our hoop it will stay nice and rigid. If I bring that back, you can see it's quite a firm shape. I'm also going to need an ear fitting for the top, and I'm going to be using some jump rings to join everything together. Now the jump rings I'm using are a 6mm jump ring. I think this is the best size for this scale of hoop. If you're doing a very tiny one, you might be able to get away with using a 5mm jump ring. But to start off with, we're going to have to introduce some tools. We've got some round nose pliers, some wire cutters, and I have a mould. In this case, I'm going to use a bead pot. This is the sort of pot that we supply our seed beads in. But equally, you can use anything that's cylindrical, so you could use a marker pen, and obviously pens come in different diameters. Or if you're really a gardener at heart, you might have a garden dibber. Now this is great because it gives you lots of different diameters of circle. This one I had specially made for me because it's got little grooves in, so I can replicate exactly the same hoop each time. However, today I'm just going to use a pot. Now I'm going to work from the end of the reel of wire so I don't waste any, and I want to make a pair of earrings, so when I make my hoop I want to make two the same size at the same time. So I'm going to offer my wire up to the pot or to your mould, and the curve of the wire is following the curve of the pot. I'm putting my thumb to hold the end of the wire down onto the pot, and I'm going to wrap round. And I'm going to keep wrapping until the wire goes round approximately 2.5 times. And now I'm going to snip that off. Move the wire out the way, and you can see I have 2 complete circles of wire with an overlap of about half a turn. I'm going to find the middle of the central turn, which is just about here, and snip. And that gives me 2 hoops exactly the same size. Now if I have a little look at the overlap, I've got an overlap of about 12mm. I want to reduce that down a bit to about 1cm or 10mm. So looking at the hoop, this is the flat end of the wire where I had it underneath my thumb. I don't really want any of this to be flat, so that's the bit I'm going to trim. And I'm going to trim to about 1cm overlap, 10mm. This is where I pick up my round nose pliers, and I'm going to make a loop. Now I'm going to hold the pliers. As you can see, they're parallel to the circle I've just made in the wire, and I'm going to make a loop pushing away from myself, so I hold quite close up and I turn and I turn. There's my little loop, and I'm going to centre it up just with a little tweak like that. Now you can see that the loop is flat across the top of the loop, across the top of the circle rather. if I hold it that way, you can see that the circle is not interrupted in any way by this little loop I've put on the end. Now I need to put my beads on. I'm going to copy this sequence, and what I've got on my table are the crystal beads that I require. I've got some little silver beads to space them out, because it's always nice to space your beads out so you can see each bead individually. And as you can see on here, I've got some little contrast seed beads, and I find when I'm making earrings, contrast seed beads just add that little bit of extra. So in amongst my contrast seed beads, I need to find 2 turquoise ones to match my turquoise beads. There we go. So looking at my sequence, it's seed bead, silver bead, small crystal, silver bead, large crystal, silver bead, small crystal, silver bead, and seed bead. And when I'm making earrings, I always double check it matches the first one before I proceed. Right, now we need to finish off the other end of the wire at the top of the hoop. I'm going to make another loop exactly the same shape and size as this one, and I'm going to make it flat again in the same plane as the previous one, so it doesn't show into the centre of the loop of the circle itself. Now this is a little professional tip. Can you see where the wire comes around and forms the loop? We have the cut end of the wire on this side, and this side is very smooth. This would be the front of the loop, and if we're making a professional job, we need to get this loop the same way around, so we've got the smooth part of the wire here and the cut end at the back. That means I'm going to have to hold the wire like this and roll away from myself. Roll and roll. There we go. Now looking back to how I made the previous loop, the first time I had to hold the pliers across the loop. The second time I held the pliers pointing down into the loop. And that way I've got my 2 loops with the smooth face pointing forwards. Now at the moment, one is in front of the other. I need to have them almost touching at this apex point. So I'm just going to tweak the wire just gently, don't force it, so that they come into line. Nearly there. I've now got my 6mm jump ring, and I've got an ear fitting. I'm going to twist open the jump ring. Now this needs 2 pairs of pliers. The gap is at the top. I've got 1 pair of pliers on at a right angle to the gap. The second pair grips the other side, and I twist. That's the jump ring open. I go down through one loop, up through the other, and while the jump ring's open, put on your ear wire and remember to have it facing the right way, so all the loops are the right way round when the earring is complete. And there we go. 1 pair of hoop earrings. Really easy to do. Now I'd like to show you a quick adaptation of this design, and that's to put a little dangle in the centre. Now I've already pre-prepared this part here. As you can see, I've got my 2 little loops just about touching at the top. I now need to prepare my dangle. Now you could do this on an eye pin, but I'm going to use a scrap of the 0.8mm wire, because I like to keep everything the same gauge, then you get the same amount of reflection back of everything. I've got my little dangle here. It's got a hole at the top so I need to make a connection. I'm going to make a slightly larger loop than I did at the top of the hoop. So round we go, straighten it up and twist open a loop. You put the pliers at a right angle to the main stem and twist towards you. Pop your little feature on and twist shut again. Right, now this one's got a little white seed bead on, and that's going to dangle in there. Now we have to do a little bit of thinking. When the earring is finished, what I'd like is this silvery coin to be in the same plane as the main loop, the main hoop of the earring. To do that, I need to make sure that I make the loop at the top of this little connector in the right plane. If I make it in this plane, when I put the jump ring on, it's going to turn it like that. So I need to make it in the same plane as the loop at the bottom of the pendant connector rather. So here we go, trim. And to make it in the same plane, I'm going to hold my pliers so I can't see any profile of the loop. All I can see is a straight line, and roll directly away from myself. This is all about getting it looking professional. If I turn it sideways, you can see both loops. If I turn it front ways, you can see neither. And that's going to go into that little gap. Jump ring again, twist it open, and this time we're joining an extra bit in. So it's down through one loop, pick up your pendant, up through the other loop, and here's our ear fitting. Pop that onto, and pick up the other pliers, twist shut. And when you hear that little click, you know that your jump ring is closed. And there we have a pair of hoop earrings with dangles and a pair of hoop earrings without.